I spent the last decade building, supporting, or investing in startups, and across all the projects. And I probably I've seen by now like hundreds of projects intimately. The one thing I noticed, the one thing I learned, maybe the main thing I learned, is that you know
Hi, guys. We have got a very special guest on the pod today. He built and sold an 8-figure digital marketing agency in his 20s that just changed his life. And today he pays it forward by investing in promising founders working on cool projects via the Explorers Fund and Good Morning Ventures, which are 2 pre-seed stage funds that he co-founded and founded. He advises startups, he helps founders all the time. And that has resulted in him nudging the next generation of founders to start their first startup. We get into more of that on the pod. It's called The Gentle Nudge. But now for the real gist about this guest, guys. He's my husband, which you guessed it, he's the big pain in my butt, okay? He doesn't like to take photos, but then loves all the photos afterward, loves the fact that we have all these great memories. He could honestly work on his cuddling endurance, but other than that, he's all right. He is the love of my life, my best friend, my adventure and challenge buddy, laughing companion. He's the OCD perfectionist to my Rebella. This man loves adventure, running, climbing, flying, you name it. And he just is the most positive person. I call him my ray of sunshine. And does this so effortlessly, helps people fall in love with the world, encourages just more love and togetherness and sunshine. I adore him. I know you will too. Here is Marcin Pogroszewski.
Can you remember 2 months ago we were freaking out because we didn't know
I know
why there is a lag, and it's so awesome to like see the progress. Like now it's like just so obvious. But that's exactly why doing versus talking about something is such a difference, because you have these tiny little everything seems simple when you talk about it, but then you do it and there are like these tiny little hiccups which you just need to figure out. And we were so upset, remember? We were like, what's happening? Is the internet? Do we need to like buy a different internet? Like, so many problems. Now it's just 2 clicks away to solve these problems. It's pretty remarkable.
What a fun journey.
Yeah.
Okay, honey.
I'm a little nervous here.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know. I'm just like, it's my wife. I want to talk about things I'm excited about, and I get nervous.
Well, just picture us going on our morning coffee date or our walk around the river, and it's just us. And I'm so excited.
I love it.
I'm so excited to learn all about what you've got planned.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm excited too, honey.
All right, let's do it, baby. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, honey. Thank you for having me.
I hear, honey, that this new year is full of new things. We've got some rebranding happening. How are you feeling about the new year?
I'm super excited. And I know it's kind of a basic thing to say, but that's the genuine feeling I have right now.
Yeah. You're feeling butterflies or what?
It's a feeling you get the day before, no, the morning of a beginning of an exciting trip, when you have a trip planned to the mountains, or like, backpacking across Southeast Asia, the morning where you are about to venture out on this trip. That's how I'm feeling right now.
That sounds really fun. Can I come with you?
Of course, you are coming with me. You already, you are indispensable part of this journey.
All right. Well, let's tell folks about it, honey.
I wasn't even thinking about the Gentle Nudge. I was thinking like everything we are working on, your podcasts, our projects, our family, everything, all the trips we have, planned for the upcoming year. I'm excited for all of that. EGN is just a small part of it.
I know. Same here. I'm really looking forward to all of it. I'm feeling a lot of gratitude for 2023, for you, for all our loved ones, for our health, and for all the adventures that we have coming up. I'm feeling excited.
Me too.
All right, baby. So about the Gentle Nudge. you're building it to nudge the next generation of founders to build their first business, which is a very cool thing to do. It's especially really authentic to you, honey, because this is something you do in your free time all the time. It makes me so giddy to just think of the founder product fit. And I wanted to get you to share with listeners who don't know you as well, as we've had tens of thousands, I'm sure, of discussions about this, just how you got moved to doing the gentle nudge.
Yeah. Well, first of all, honey, thank you for letting me talk about it. It's it's also a privilege to have access to a podcast like that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, honey.
the 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 idea for the gentle nudge came from my own personal experience. So I spent the last decade building, supporting, or investing in startups, and across all the projects, and I probably I've seen by now like hundreds of projects intimately. The one thing I noticed, the one thing I learned, maybe the main thing I learned, is that actually anyone can become an entrepreneur. There is this false narrative that you need to be a kind of special person, you need to have a special idea, you need to maybe have a fancy MBA degree. I don't think you need any of that. I'd still recommend MBA, for finding your life partner, but you don't need any of that, and really anyone can become an entrepreneur. I think all you need is just growth mindset, a little bit love and support, and a gentle nudge to get started.
I love it. I remember as you were even coming up with the name, the gentle nudge, and the ideations behind that. And that in of itself was a fun process.
You are not a big fan of this name, but I think it grew on you, right?
Yeah, it grew
I
on.
hope so.
My issue with it was that gentle is a soft word / gesture, and then nudge is also soft. And so I remember being like, how are you doing gentle nudging? You're nudging that's already gentle enough.
Well,
it's grown on me for sure.
That's good. The idea here is that anyone can become an entrepreneur. Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that, but if you want to become one, I guarantee you can become one. And the gentle nudge is just about gently pushing you into that direction and showing you the way. And this happened to me. Like 10 years ago, my two best friends and recently, my two best men at our wedding, Tomek and Karo, they nudged me to start my first company with them, and it changed my life. So I now try to pay it forward with the gentle nudge and nudge, the next generation of entrepreneurs into starting their first company.
Yeah, and you've had quite the track record. Want to tell a little bit about other folks that you've nudged? And I love the clarification of you don't need to do this, but if you want, you can totally do it.
Yeah, after we built our first company, Marketing Wizards, this was a performance marketing agency. I fell in love with entrepreneurship, and I continued either building or investing in startups. And some of the projects I'm most proud of are one, I invited my brother and one of my best friends, Piotrek, to start a small business, local business in our home city, Wrocław. It was called Imaginarium, and it was a VR arcade place. And it's one of the proudest things I've ever done. The project actually was unsuccessful, so that might sound funny, but the two things that make me extremely proud are that are one, my brother, like the connection I have with him, and I think the way it impacted him and me and our relationship is just extremely profound. I feel like we found each other after many years of kind of living in different places, not being close to each other. So that was the one incredible result of this project. And the second one was Piotrek told me, so our third co-founder in this project, Piotrek told me, despite the fact that it was unsuccessful and nobody made any money, and Piotrek and my brother Krzysiek were working their asses off to build this. Even despite all this adversity, Piotrek told me that these several years when he was working on Imaginarium, these were professionally the happiest years and most kind of meaningful years of his life. So yeah, that really inspired me to wow, can I do more of that to other people? And
let me pause there because this is such a profound point that speaks to the power of building things together. And I know how important your relationship with your brother is to you, how it was important for you to reconnect with him, and you guys just recently took another trip to Japan together, and it brings you so close. And what's more important than being with the people that we love and nurturing and fostering those relationships? And so I'm so proud of you. And then Piotrek is a great friend, and he's also fallen in love with entrepreneurship. And I know that the two, Krzysiek and Piotrek, are doing another project that you nudged them toward as well, following Imaginarium. So speaking again to maybe your first one will not succeed, but you can try and again and learn and move forward.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. We are building a kind of slow travel retreat place in south of Poland, 2 hours away from Wrocław, and it's also bringing me a lot of joy. With this one, I can't claim credit for nudging anyone. Like at this point, both Piotrek and Krzysiek were already nudged, and they didn't need another nudge. We were just like, hey, we love working together. This was fun, even though it was unsuccessful. Let's keep working together. And now we're working on another project. I want to also shout out Piotrek, because on top of that, he actually started his own business now, and he is building his own project in Wrocław, and that's super exciting. And like that's I love that. I love seeing that, and I think it's just the most entrepreneurship is this beautiful journey, and also a drug. Like once you try it, and once you get a hit of entrepreneurship, like it's hard to go back. It's just so addictive to be master of your own work and be in charge. And it can be hard, and it can be lonely, but it's extremely satisfying. So I'm super excited for both of them.
Yeah. And then some other examples of folks you've nudged. I know we have Damian with Mięsna Paczka.
Yeah, Damian, we know each other since we were interns at Danone, which is a yogurt company, many years ago, 2009. We were both living in Warsaw, but we were both from Wrocław, and this was kind of first thing we bonded around. And then throughout the years, we remained friends, and we were always talking about starting something together. And in 2018, we came up with this idea of starting a kind of organic meat delivery business in Poland. We saw some successful examples in the US, and Damian was looking for a new project in his life, and I felt like this could be a perfect storm of circumstances to kind of nudge him and myself to do something together. And so Mięsna Paczka was born, and Damian didn't have any previous experience or much experience with entrepreneurship, so I kind of took the role of being the chief nudger and supporter and cheerleader and advisor, and Damian did incredibly impressive work, and we are now 4 years later, and the business is booming. Damian is a kind of a fully grown entrepreneur in his own right, and I feel like I can now learn more from him than he can learn from me. So it's incredibly satisfying to see the journey as well.
Beautiful. And I love that you keep mentioning how satisfying it is for you as well.
It is. It's so, it's like you had Jeff Abraham on your podcast, and Jeff, a dear friend of ours, I think for my 30th birthday, he gave me this note in which he wrote that that he thinks, which was very kind of him, that one of my superpowers is helping people fall in love with the world. And I loved it so much. That I kind of made it my mantra, my kind of North Star guiding principle. Like whatever I do in my life, I want to help people fall in love with the world. I love the world, and the way I fall in love with the world is through entrepreneurship, through music, through adventures, and so I'm trying to recreate that. And I have some things I'm proud about. Working on that project.
Do you want to say more about why these activities make you fall in love with the world? And it's so clear how that transfer of energy comes to other people like myself, our friends, people that are in your orbit.
I think the sense of adventure and sense of agency over what you are working on is just so critical to this, the sense of self-satisfaction and happiness. And so whether it's climbing a mountain, whether it's building a business, whether it's trying a new sport, or or even cooking a new meal.
Yeah.
I recently
Yeah.
learned how
I
to
am
cook
enjoying these meals.
it's kind of the same premise. The premise is, instead of following what other people tell you, just like going on your own adventure and living your life on your own terms. And in the professional world, like, to me, that's entrepreneurship. That's like seeing the world as it is and disagreeing with something that's out there. And I think non-nonsense entrepreneurship is just a way of organizing the world just a little bit better. And there's something extremely satisfying when you see that, oh, like I cleaned up our world a little bit more. If I use a metaphor of our world is a house party, and there are a lot of people and there are a lot of things, and all of a sudden you see that there's not enough ice for the drinks. The entrepreneurial mindset tells you, like, hey, I'm going to be that person who, like, finds a solution and, I don't know, runs to the grocery store down the street to grab some ice so that everyone can enjoy the party a little bit more. And that's how I think about entrepreneurship, just like keeping this party that we have here on this planet fun and a little bit better, a little bit more organized.
Yeah. And to quote, I believe this was one of your nudges by Albert Einstein, was it? That someone's sitting in the shade today because someone else planted a tree before. And so taking the initiative, planting those trees, taking your life in your own hands. For me, it's such an empowering and freeing adventure and feeling and pursuit that's worth having. Honey, let's talk a little bit about your founder journey to give folks some context here.
Sure.
What did you build in what period? Lay the groundwork for us.
So, my first and most impactful journey, I feel like the first business is always the dearest one in every entrepreneur's life. It was called Marketing Wizards. It sounded much cooler in Poland than it sounds in English. And it was a performance marketing agency. And I was, the year was 2012. I was working at Polish Groupon. I was following the mantra of, when you are young, you work to learn, not to earn. So I was learning a ton. At the time, Groupon was this hot new, fastest growing startup around the world. And we had just incredible marketing budget to spend. The rule was spend as much as you can, because Groupon was trying to aggressively grab the market. On top of being the fastest growing startup, it was also the fastest copied startup in history. So it was important to grow as fast as possible. So this was my 10,000 hours, if you will, of learning how to be a good performance marketer. And after 2 years in Groupon, as I mentioned at the beginning, Tomek and Karol, who were the co-founders of Polish Groupon and my dear friends, they nudged me to start our own agency. And so instead of doing what I was doing for Groupon, like, start doing this for other companies, for other businesses, for other startups. And so the journey began. I was kind of the one person, full time. Tomek and Karol were helping me and nudging me and supporting me. And this was my first experience with starting a company, first being on my own, working from Warsaw School of Economics library, and getting our first customer, and then growing it to a team of 64 people, I think, and and one of the biggest agencies in Poland in just under 3 years. Wow. I used to think I was very smart. I think now I also know that I was, it was a lot of hard work, but I was also very lucky. The industry was booming. Performance marketing was at the time still something that was somewhat new. And we also had this goodwill with a lot of startups in Poland. So while a lot of big agencies were focusing on like big brands like Coca-Cola and Adidas, we carved out a nice niche with startups. So any startup in Poland that just got financing and they were looking to spend money on performance marketing, we were a good answer, and I feel like we were doing a good job delivering the results. So that was the adventure. It was incredible. I loved every second of it. It was super hard. I was sleeping 5 hours a day for several years. I was learning how to hire, how to fire people. I was learning the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. But I felt incredibly alive. I remember this, distinctly. One day, walking out of my apartment in Warsaw, it was still a student apartment that I was sharing with my friend Bartek, and I was thinking to myself, like, I'm doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. I felt like so aligned with myself. This felt perfect. This felt like a sense of flow every day for three years straight.
What a beautiful feeling.
incredible. And I want to feel that for myself, and I want others to feel the same thing. It's just incredible.
Amazing. And then what happened? You exited. What did you decide? How did that fall in line with your life vision?
Yeah, we are fortunate to successfully exit the business. So in 2015, well, actually in 2014, we were approached by Dentsu. At the time, they were called Dentsu Aegis Network. I think now they go by Dentsu International, and it's a British Japanese, or actually Japanese British media conglomerate, and they were interested in buying us, and their strategy was to acquire local agencies in all the markets and then rebrand them to their global brands. So we, Marketing Wizards, became iProspect of Poland, which is their brand for performance marketing agencies. And so in 2015, we had our big exit, and it was insane. As you can imagine, at the time I was 27, and I still remember 2 years before I was taking this class on M&As, mergers and acquisitions at school, at university, and I remember that I was thinking to myself like, oh, that's a useful class, but like I'm not going to use it for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, I was going through my own M&A process, negotiating the deal, figuring out how to even move in this new reality of having a big financial success, big personal success, how to a lot of like introspection of like how to even integrate in this new kind of persona that I became. I was a successful founder and entrepreneur, and I had an exit. It wasn't easy, and I would say it's like one of the things I now know, and I didn't know back then, is that there are other people who went through a successful exit, and if you are an entrepreneur who is about to sell their company, just like find other successful entrepreneurs and talk to them, because there are a ton of learnings that we already have, and onto how to manage yourself, how to manage the sudden inflow of money, and how to invest in a smart way, and don't let it eat you.
Yeah. One of the things I love the most about you is how grounded you are. And so I can't even imagine for a 27-year-old to have an 8-figure exit and what that was like. What do you feel was grounding for you? What helped you get through that? Other entrepreneurs, but what else?
The most important part were Tomek and Karol, so my co-founders. Like we all had each other, so we could all control our impulses. We could all kind of, discuss how we feel about this stuff. I felt like we were always keeping each other kind of level-headed and centered. And I saw people who, like solo entrepreneurs, who had massive successes, and I think because they didn't have anyone around them, the success got into their heads a little bit, and in some cases it was in a very unhealthy way. And I feel for them, because entrepreneurial journey can be lonely, and it's a little weird, and like the world tells you are super smart, you're so successful, you get a ton of validation. It's a massive high, it's like a hit of the most amazing drug.
Mm-hmm.
But after every hit of most amazing drug, there comes another, the next day, and then you feel low. Like you feel like, oh, so what next should I do with my life? Like I was actually a little scared. I was like, wow, maybe the best thing in my life already happened. Which is kind of, when I think about it, I want to give 27-year-old Marcin a hug. Like,
Yeah.
Relax, like it's okay. But at the time I was just like, wow, this is a big thing, and like everyone is giving this recognition. So
Yeah.
what do I do now to like one up myself? I felt this restlessness of like I need to like prove myself now, and I don't want to just like get this success and then stay kind of lazy for the next 20 years.
Yeah. First of all, that's a really normal feeling, I imagine, for a 20-something-year-old who's been very successful in their career to have this sense of fear of, oh, what if this is the best thing that's happened to me? It's a very normal feeling. And I, as you're talking, feel like there's so much there to your values, honey, and what's important to you. And like you're like the anti-consumerism person. Like you buy almost nothing. And I think so many other folks could have gone and bought so much that's way just unnecessary things. And I think it also speaks to Tomek and Carol's values and just having each other to ground each other. Also, obviously, parents, upbringing, folks that you had around you.
I just want to set the record straight. I did buy a new BMW after selling company. I have no regrets. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I don't think it was crazy.
buy things.
Yeah, I don't think it was crazy. It was crazy by my standards. I never owned a new car.
Yeah.
And this was like I deeply enjoyed. I went to a website and I spent probably 2 days configuring every detail of the car, and it was like full blown, every feature you can imagine. I got all of that, and it was beautiful. Vivid color, as you know, I like vivid colors. And it was, financially speaking, it was the worst decision I ever made, because I bought it completely new, and then I had to sell it because I was moving to the US like not even a year later. So if you look at if there is a graph of like the value decrease of a new car, I basically maximized the loss. I maximized the loss on that car. But honestly, it felt great because I think I scratched that itch of like, oh, I had a big success. Let's do something crazy. I did something crazy. I know what it feels like. I don't feel like I need to do it again. And it's a cool story. So
and you got to treat yourself with your own hard-earned money. So good for you.
And by the way, the hedonistic adaptation is very real. I got the car. I was excited for 3 days, and then it was just a car. On the fourth day, I was feeling like, oh, it's just a car.
Yeah. That's actually a great point of you scratch the itch, you know what this is like, and you could focus on things that bring you more long-term happiness and satisfaction.
Yeah. I recommend it,
Yeah.
Just be reasonable.
Okay. So I'm understanding Stanford had something to do with your future plans of longer term happiness and satisfaction. What was that all about?
In my application to Stanford, I wrote, there's these 2 essays, and one of them is why Stanford, and what I wrote about was that I feel like I climbed a mountain, and the view from the top is amazing, but you don't want to stay on a mountain for too long, because what's the point? The point is about climbing the mountain. So I had this vision and ambition of now I need to find a new mountain, hopefully a little bigger, a little bit more ambitious. And the way to do it in my head was just to go outside of Poland. I also never lived truly outside of Poland, and expose myself to a new adventure. And I always, growing up, I used to listen to The Offspring and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I just kind of loved the California vibe, and I had this like romantic vision of what living in California would look like. And on top of that, like, all I knew about startups were, all the companies I was working with as a performance marketing agency, like Facebook and Google, they were all based biking distance from Stanford campus. So in my head, it was like a perfect storm of, let's go to California, let's find a good reason to go, which was the MBA program at Stanford. And let's, in that essay that I mentioned, I wrote, I'm going to come to Stanford, I'm going to find new people, I'm going to equip myself with new tools and new skills, and find a new mountain to climb, which in my head was like a new business project. So that was the motivation behind it.
Beautiful. And I know we've done some hikes on this figurative/metaphorical mountain that we're looking to climb. And I know that we've also arrived at the mountain that you are excited to climb.
Yeah, that's right.
Is the gentle nudge. What are you hoping to build with the gentle nudge?
So I want to build the #1 newsletter for first-time founders and, frankly, anyone who is considering entrepreneurship. I want to recreate this idea of a gentle nudge at scale for other people. That's the big vision for this project.
That's the big, what is it? There's this term, big, hairy, audacious goal.
That's right. That's right. And I'm very excited for that.
I'm very excited too. How will you do it, honey?
Well, that's a great question. So, as I started Gentle Nudge over the summer, and initially I thought I will just kind of post nudges, which were just posts on LinkedIn. And the idea was that I would kind of spread the message of entrepreneurship and try to get people excited and inspired, and maybe teach them a little bit or share a little bit about my own journey. However, after several months, I kind of realized that that's not the best way to do it. I had these 2 learnings. Like, one is just like talking about the entrepreneurship without doing it feels like not walking the talk, and it just kind of made me feel a little fake, like a little, I got imposter syndrome. And then the second one was I hated this game of getting likes and getting shares and trying to, spending time figuring out like when to post, like what to say, how to create a hook, like how to create a picture that will grab attention. And just, I know that's the name of the game. I know there are other business creators who are successfully playing it. I just didn't respect the game. And so I made on the trip to Japan that you mentioned, I had some reflection time, and I decided, I was thinking like, what would actually make an impact? And I decided, I need to go, instead of broad and shallow, I want to go narrow and deep, which meant instead of posting on LinkedIn short form, I want to go, longer form newsletter. So I want to refocus on the newsletter. And then the second was like, what's the best way to deliver actual value? Like, instead of, I feel like we have now hundreds of these online influencers, not trying to throw shade at anyone, but it feels like we are oversaturated with like five steps to run a business, 7 lessons for life, and like all of this kind of surface level learnings.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go deeper and bring some bigger value. So the answer to that was, instead of talking, don't tell, show, or show, don't tell. And so I decided that in 2023, I'm going to start a new business from scratch, from zero. I don't even have an idea right now what this business will be. And I'm going to build it into $1 million revenue business, and all of that before the end of the next year. And I'm going to report. So
Wait,
I'm going to step into the arena.
Well, for people can't see, who are not on YouTube, my eyes were wide open as you were saying that. I'm screaming inside. Very exciting. Also, as your wife, obviously nervous and wanting you to obviously do this well and coming from a place of care. But as your partner, friend, I am cheering you on. And I know that this is such an exciting mountain for you to climb. And it's so wild that you'll also be just sharing it in real time and live for everyone to be able to follow. I think it feels, as you're describing that there's just so much value to come out of that process, because knowing you're very open and very transparent. And so I imagine all the tough times, all the hiccups, bumps, successes, failures, etc., along the way on this metaphorical climb, you'll be sharing, which sounds invaluable.
That's the idea. I hope that it will be useful. That's, with entrepreneurship, it's always you have a hypothesis and then you test it. So my hypothesis is that people will appreciate the transparency and following along a real entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
And in spirit of making it valuable, I'm gonna share everything. So I'm gonna share the financials. I'm gonna share the tactics. I'm gonna share the tools that I'm using. I'm gonna share my feelings. I'm gonna share my ups and downs. I'm gonna share the doubt, because the doubt that you get along the journey is just inevitable part of every entrepreneur's life. And so I want to make it as transparent as possible, and report from the arena back to everyone who is interested via the newsletter once a week, telling people what it feels like, what's the progress, and all of that. So I'm excited. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I have a ton of things that I have, like, for anyone who's listening, I have no idea how I'm going to do it. Like, I know the ins and outs of.
He's not just saying that. He hasn't come up with what he's going to do yet.
Yeah. So we will kick it off next week. Begin first week of the new year. The first newsletter will be about ideation and just kind of strategizing how to get from $0 to $1 million in revenue in 1 year. I also this is as I said, like, I believe in like non-nonsense entrepreneurship. So I don't want it just to be I just want to make $1 million, whatever it takes.
Right.
I want this to be like a real business that solves a real problem or delivers real value. It doesn't need to be the next Facebook, obviously, or like a crazy startup that nobody can ever build. I actually want it to be a real business that everyone who's following could build. I'm also I'm not going to put any substantial capital into this business. I'm going to do it the way essentially any person would do it. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah. I love it, honey. As you're sharing that, I'm picturing you climbing up this mountain, giving updates, radio updates of where you're at, what is happening along the way. And I'm just envisioning folks coming together in a band, climbing with you and going on their own journeys with you. And in turn, this community forming of entrepreneurs in formation who then support each other, because it is all about the support. And I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, and this is the why, right? Like this is the why I'm doing this. I want to nudge other people to start their own businesses, and I posted about it yesterday on LinkedIn, and I sent the news, the goal to the existing subscribers of the Gentle Nudge. And already since yesterday, we got 100 new subscribers, which just warms my heart. And at least 20 people emailed me saying that they are like on their own journey, or they just started something, and this is a gift from heaven that they will have a community to build with. And that's exactly what I wanted. Like, I was a little worried yesterday how it will land, and maybe people just don't care. Like, whatever, dude, just build what you want to build. Like, who cares? But there is at least a small tribe of people who seem to be excited, and I really want to do my best and put in the hours and the work to make it worthwhile for them.
Yeah, it all comes back to, you mentioned you will share your doubts that you have along the way and setbacks, et cetera, and be really transparent with the metrics. And it all comes back to every entrepreneur that we've talked to, that I've had on, et cetera, shares that they have doubts sometimes and that it's lonely and all of this. And so that speaks volumes to the value of a community, and looking forward to this community building. I believe it's called the G Squad, will be the community aspect. I love this name. How can I join the G Squad?
That's right. So essentially there are two ways of following the journey. So one, the newsletter. If you go to thegentlenudge.com, you can subscribe. It's completely free. Anyone can join. If you ever wanted to build a business, I invite you to join the journey. It will be a ton of fun. On top of like the learnings, I actually really want this newsletter to be like a ray of sunlight in your inbox. I want it to be good. Like we become entrepreneurs because we want to choose and create our job, right? Like we want to build our own destiny. So let's build it in a way that we actually have fun with it and we enjoy it. So that's like one thing. But if you want to go beyond just the newsletter, I also put together a WhatsApp group. It's called the G Squad. G stands for gentle, G Squad. And but there's a catch. Like the only way to get into the G Squad is through referring 3 new subscribers to the Gentle Nudge. That's just my little mechanism for helping me spread the message and make the impact of TGN a little bit bigger. So subscribe to the Gentle Nudge and then recommend it to 3 people, and you will be invited to the exclusive G Squad WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group will be more interactive. I want to kind of share more on a daily basis, maybe a little bit like a daily stand-up style updates of what's going on. But I also want it not to be just about me and my project, but I wanted it to be a community for people who want to meet like-minded entrepreneurs or soon-to-be entrepreneurs, and find a place where they can share their wins, ask a question, find co-founders, all of the above. So yeah, I'm super excited for both.
Love it. And I have no doubt that you are going to do this with all your heart and soul. And I have no doubt that this journey will be magical and filled with growth. If there's anything, your love language is acts of service for these folks in the community. I think you guys are going to bond together. I'm going to bond with folks in this community. I can't wait for it. And you're a leader. Like, you've literally led friends to the top of Mount Rainier. And you plan most of our adventures. And so metaphorically speaking, I'm really excited for this adventure, and I have no doubt that you're going to get to the top, and I'm already so proud of you, honey.
Thanks, baby. I just want to say shout out to you, because I wouldn't be able, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, I wouldn't be able to do any of that if not for you. Like, you are kind of the source of all my motivation, and you are always there to help me, to support me when I have my low moments. You are there to give me a warm blanket of your love, and it's just if there is one thing I can recommend to anyone, find yourself a co-founder for life that you can share all of the journey together, and it's like the biggest life hack I can come up with. So thank you.
Oh, I love you, honey. I've been smiling this whole recording because you're so handsome, and I'm trying to remember what I wanted to ask you and what questions I wanted to and learn about TGN. So right back at you, honey.
Ask me a hard question. Ask me something, just so that listeners can appreciate that this is not
Okay.
just.
Why is this worth their time? What's actually game changing for them in this community?
So I think the number one thing is that I'm actually building the business. So, I know all of the, theoretical frameworks and wisdoms and books on entrepreneurship. And I want to be the man in the arena. And I hope that kind of reporting from the arena back at people will actually bring value and hopefully teach them something beyond just the usual, tips and tricks on how to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Honey, thank you for your willingness to be the man in the arena. Thank you for your vulnerability, for your openness, for your desire to share and encourage people to fall in love with the world. It is indeed your superpower. I'm very, very much looking forward to it, as long as it means that I still get breakfasts and coffee dates and sky dates and cuddles and hugs and getting you to sleep enough. Okay.
Of course. So that's something we didn't talk about, but
Taking care of oneself as a founder.
Yeah, part of the process that actually also makes the experience more real for anyone who will choose to subscribe and follow. I'm gonna do it on top of any other responsibilities I have, right? Like I am helping you with producing this podcast that's not going away. I am, I just launched a pre-seed fund with 3 other friends, the Explorer Fund, which I'm super, super excited about. And that's another thing I'm working on. I still have my responsibilities with my venture, building an investing studio, the Good Morning Ventures. I'm still quite actively involved with Miasta Paczka and other projects. So that's all going to stay. And I want to do incredible job on all these fronts, which I think mimics, the real life situations of most people. It's like you're sometimes working a full-time job. You may be like a full-time mom or a parent, and people have their real lives, and it's not like you can just drop everything and start building your own company. You have responsibilities, and most people cannot afford to today I'm just going to do 100% my new business. Most people do it, or at least they start with working on these businesses in their evenings or weekends or early in the morning. So in that way, I feel like it will make the experience even more authentic if I also do it on top of all the other responsibilities I have. And of course, honey, you are my priority. So we will go for runs, we'll go for sky dates, we'll enjoy coffee like we love doing in the mornings. And so that's my plan. If you ask me what will be the name of the game, what's the keyword for 2023, for me, it's going to be speed. Like the speed of decision making, to achieve this goal and do all of that on top of other responsibilities, I'm going to need to be fast. I'm going to need to decide fast. There will be no time for overthinking, no time for second guessing. Like, we got to move fast and break things. I know it's not a very popular phrase these days because it came from Facebook, but that's what I will have to do to be able to execute on all of that. So speed is the 2023 keyword for me.
And how about the aspects of yourself that you will need to manage the most?
I did a ton of work in the past years, as you know, on managing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I developed a nice set of rituals and routines that, keep me sane and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And the key components are, first of all, it's you, my life partner, my wife, my love, my Jennifer, and just having you as I said, as a co-founder of life. That's just like that's all I need, and then the rest is kind of a gravy. It's a bonus. So having you, in terms of practical stuff, like staying healthy, 8 hours of sleep, non-negotiable. B, good diet. I recently started keto diet. I'm really liking it. C, meditation. I started meditating half an hour in the morning. It's my tent where I go into when on this journey on this mountain. I go into the tent and I can warm myself up. I can reconnect with myself, check in and see what's going on. If anything feels funky, that's the time for me to introspect that and see what's going on. Fitness. I have a nice protocol for fitness. That's important. And then, a long bench of wonderful friends. I want to shout out to our dear friend Rish, who agreed to be my my buddy in this process. Once a week, I check in with Rish and I talk at him and tell him all the thoughts and all the feelings. And he's, gracious enough to first listen and then give me his feedback and his thoughts. And then a ton of other friends that I don't probably have enough time to mention everyone. It's a gift to have friends like that in life. And I'm taking full advantage of that. And I know that they will help me if I need help. So that's kind of my toolkit and my set of routines that I'm gonna implement to make sure that I can execute on this journey. And in the end, I don't have to do it; I get to do it. So I treat it as I use this metaphor of like running a marathon. You don't have to run a marathon, but you can choose to. And so I want to break 3 hours next year, meaning I want to get to this $1 million goal. There is a set of things I need to do to prepare for that, and I just want to execute as well as I can. And if I run 3 hours and 5 minutes, that's still great. I'm gonna do my best to break 3 hours though.
I'm glad that you are nourished. You are so loved by so many of us, and I am really, really excited for folks to be part of your journey and get nudged into their own adventures alongside of you. Thanks, Hani, so much for coming. I love you. I adore you. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Hani. I love you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like what you hear, leave a review and share.